talk about some of the different places you lived. You started out life in Rat Hollow. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And what do you sometimes like to jokingly say about Rat Hollow?
When I was young, I thought if a man didn't do any more in life than to get out of Rat Hollow, he was a success. Although there are some good people and successful people in Rat Hollow today, so that's just kind of a joke.
Well, of course. And then after that, you were in Monticello on your dad's farm.
That is correct.
And that's where you were living when you and Mom got married.
That is
In
correct.
1953.
Yes.
And how large was that farm?
276 acres.
And how many cattle did you have?
Oh gosh, we milked about 40. But my dad bought that right after the war. Yeah, there's 276 acres. It was pretty rough, but a good producing farm. 276 acres, half to feed and half to cattle for $15,000. And my dad wondered if he'd ever live long enough to pay for it.
Wow.
Yes.
What would that be worth now, do you think?
Oh, I would imagine they could get 4,000 an acre for it.
4,000 an acre.
I would think so. I haven't priced any in that area.
So when you were first married and you were on that farm in Monticello, you decided you should have a hired man. And how did you go about getting one?
Well, yeah, I needed a hired man. I put ads in the papers, and one ad was in the Madison paper. And one day, I was down by the barn, and a Madison taxi cab drove in. The passenger got out, pulled 2 suitcases out, and the cabbie drove away, and I had a hired man. He was a good man. He meant well and all that, but he didn't quite have his act all together.
How old a man was he?
He was a man in his 50s at that time. Yes.
And where was he coming from?
I don't know where he had been working previously, but his hometown was a little place called Charlevoix, Michigan. Yes. Uh-huh. Yep.
What one of the more interesting episodes you had with him?
Well, we were milking cows with a surge milker. They had the strap over the back of the cow, and then the pail hung on in under. And one time I left that strap on, and the cow goes out the door with that strap on her back. And I told him, Forrest, I says, I left a strap on the cow. You look around, you might find it sometime. So it was quite a while, and he came back from mowing weeds one day. Say, I found that strap you were looking for, Rudy. Good. I says, where do you find that? Down by the creek. So after supper, I went out and I looked up on the peg in the barn, and I says, where is that strap, Forrest? I told you it was down by the creek, but I hadn't told him to bring it home. But that's the way it goes.
And what else did he tell you that he'd like to do if he got some money and time together?
Well, when he leaves my place, he says he was going to go back down to Chicago. Now, this was in the 50s, yeah, early 50s, mid-50s. He was going to go back down to Chicago, get about a 1935 or 1936 Ford, and a pistol about that there long, and he was going to go down to Division Street and start settling up scores. I often wondered what happened to that fellow. I wished him well anyway.
And how did you happen to move to the farm at Footville?
The farm at Footville was owned by Wanda's uncle, Alban Jägerlinger. Nice level land, and he says I could rent that if I wanted. And Wanda's dad also had a farm in the Albany area that I could have gone on there. So we went down to look at the farm at Footville one day, Wanda and I couldn't believe all those level acres. So we decided right then and there we were going to move. And it was a good move, a good move. And we were there for 34 years, no complaints. Got along very good with the landlord, never a cross word, ever. Yep.
And tell us about the little problem you had trying to get a loan before you were going to move on the place.
Yes, I was going to get about $4,000 at the Footville Bank, and that guy had a fit. They didn't know if he wanted to loan me that money before I moved to Footville. This was in the fall of 1957. I says, I need the money now so I can go to auctions this winter and buy stuff that I need. Well, reluctantly, he did give me the money, but I was not a happy camper. And about a year later, I got the money from Wanda's dad, and then I repaid him.